Hi everyone, good morning. It's Rabbi Jenni for Congregation Beth-El. I'm going to be doing Create with Rabbi Jenni in just a moment, and I am on my phone rather than my computer this morning because I want to be able to set my angle a little different so you can see my hands more so than my face for this particular creativity. So I apologize for a slightly different angle, and I will have to move you around a little bit. But I wanted to let you all know that. I'm going to give us a minute, see if any others want to join us. And I'm also going to watch from my computer next to me so that I can see comments coming in once I set my camera up in the other mode. So when you can see my hands, I want to make sure that I can see your comments. So I'm going to give just a minute to see if any others want to join us. I'm going to get myself set up over here, and then we will get started. Okay, I can see myself from my computer, and I will, today what I would love to do, because we have Yom HaAtzmaut earlier this week, and as you can probably tell from the large collection of yarn behind me, that one of my favorite crafts and one of my favorite ways of being creative is with yarn. I like to knit a lot. I knit the sweater I'm wearing today, and I love to crochet also. So today, if you already know a little bit of crochet, it'll be a little bit easier to follow along with me. If not, I'm going to be using some very basic stitches that are going to be easy to look up in another video on YouTube or anything like that. And we are going to make crocheted Stars of David. I'm thinking in honor of Yom HaAtzmaut, I made a lovely blue one to display this morning. We're going to make an even simpler color, just blue, in just a moment. And the cool thing with these is once you're done with them, they're just nice little stars. You can use them to hang as decoration. You could use them around Hanukkah to decorate. You could use them in your sukkah to decorate later on. Today I'm making a blue one, and I might even put it onto a piece of white fabric and make it into a little flag. So I'm going to flip my camera around and set myself up. Make sure you can see my hands, and I'm going to show you how I make mine. Moving that out of my way. Flipping my camera. And let's see, I'm going to try to set my phone up with my camera in a way that my phone won't fall, but that you could see my hands. Okay. As you can see, I've written myself a little bit of a pattern here, but it's a little bit of a scratch notes pattern, because I usually, for this particular thing, it's actually pretty easy to go by feel and go by what I'm looking at for the little stars. But what I'm going to start with is a slip knot. The way to make a slip knot is I kind of cross a loop of yarn where there's a loop coming over, and then it's going to come back behind the yarn, and now I have a little adjustable loop with a knot on it. And I'm going to take my crochet hook. I am right now using a G, which is a 4mm, which refers to how big around this part of my hook is. But any size that is the right size that your yarn says or bigger will work. I'm using a slightly bigger yarn, or a bigger hook than this size yarn necessarily would use, because I want it to be a little bit lacier than this particular one came out. This one I use thicker yarn on the same hook. I'm going to use a little bit thinner yarn, and it'll come out a little more open. So first thing I'm going to do is I like to just chain. Chain just means you're using your hook to pull some yarn through the loops, and it just can keep going and makes a little chain. So I'm going to chain 4, and then since my star is worked around a circle, I'm going to take my hook and I'm going to do what's called a slip stitch, which just means I go through back all the way to my first chain. I push my hook through it, and then I pull from my yarn that's coming out of my ball of yarn here off to the side, and I'm going to pull it all the way through both of those loops. And now I have a little circle here. I have a little hole in this middle, and I'm going to use that. And then the next thing I'm going to do to start my first round is I'm going to chain 3 again. 1, 2, 3, or we should practice our Hebrew letters, or Hebrew numbers. Echad, shtayim, shalosh. And now I'm going to do what's called a double crochet, which means I'm going to wrap my yarn around my hook before I put it inside my hole. I'm going to go through my hole and grab a little yarn and pull it up. Now there are 3 little loops on the post under my hook, and I'm going to pull through 1 time and 2 times, and that's why it's called a double crochet. You'll also see, if you see patterns out of England, it'll be called a triple crochet, and that refers to those three hooks. So if you are following crochet patterns, it's always good to see if you're looking at US terms or UK terms. And after I do those two, that first chain of 3 actually counts as a double crochet. And I'm going to do 1 more chain, and now I'm going to do 5 more pairs of 2 double crochets and a chain all the way around my circle. So echad, shtayim, that's pair number 1. And then pair number 2. Do 2 double crochets and a chain, and another 2 double crochets. Here's 1 and 2, and then a chain, and then 1, 2, and a chain. I almost didn't do the chain. I said chain. There's the chain. So now how many do I have right now? I say 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need 1 more pair because I'm trying to get to 6, to 6, so we can make a 6-pointed star. So there's 2 more double crochets, 1 more chain, and then to join it in the round, I'm going to grab toward the top of that, the first time where I did 3 chains, and I'm going to do a slip stitch again like I did to the very start, where I just pull it. I'm going to pull my working yarn, that's the yarn that's coming out of my ball of yarn, all the way through everything on my hook. Ta-da! And now I'm going to do another slip stitch to get myself into the first little hole that my chains created. So now if you look after round 1, this is going to be a 4 round total. After round 1, you can see 6 little pairs with little holes in between each pair. And that's where I'm going to do my work for round 2. So I'm going to do these 3 chains count as my first double crochet. And now in each chain, I'm going to do 2 pairs with a chain in between. And then 2 in a chain, and 1, 2. And I want another chain so that I can get to the next hole that I'm going to work from. And now I'm going to do another 2 pairs. 1, 2, chain, 1, 2, chain. And now I'm going to do the same thing in all 6 of my little holes. So 1, 2, chain, 1, 2, chain. And the reason I like doing Star of David is that it's something that is often seen as one of the symbols of Judaism. It's one of the most recognizable symbols of Judaism, even to non-Jews worldwide. It's on the Israeli flag, our homeland. It is used as a symbol of our strength and a symbol of peace, and it can be a really wonderful these end up being wonderful decoration. You could also fill in and make a kippah out of them. It was actually the very first thing I learned to crochet was one of these when I was 8 years old. So don't feel bad if you're not quite as fast as I am if you're just learning how to crochet. So I'm doing another pair here. If anytime you get mixed up, because here I am talking, so where am I? I just have to kind of pause and look. And the nice thing with this, since my rounds are a little taller from one round to the next, it's easy to see. Looks like I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 times around this one. So I've got 1 more, and it's going to go into this space here between my 2 from the previous round. 1 more set of pairs. 1, 2, chain, 1, 2, and chain, and then I'm going to to join the same way as I did in the last round by putting it here and doing a slip and a slip. So far it looks like I just have a hexagon. So far it doesn't look like a Star of David yet. And so that's where this round we're going to start making the actual points of our star. So now the last round we had 6 holes here. We now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We have 12. So what I'm going to do is in every other hole is going to be a space to make a point and a space to bring down the point. So instead of a pair in every hole, there will be a pair of double crochet sets in holes number 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11, and there will be a down point into 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. So watch me and I'll show you what I mean by that. So we're going to do the 3 counts as our first double crochet, and another double crochet. And these ones, the pairs will be exactly the same as previous round. So 2 double crochets with a chain and then 2 more double crochets. But now, after I finish that, I'm going to do chain 2 this time. And instead of doing multiple stitches or a double crochet, I'm going to do what's called a single crochet. So I'm not going to pull any yarn on to my hook before I go in. I'm just going to go straight into that hole and bring it around. Now I have 2 on my, so let me back up and show that again. I'm going to go, didn't do this step this time. No, I'm going to leave that off. I'm just going to go into my hole, pull up 1, and now there's 2 loops and it comes through just 1 time. So that's why that's a single crochet. Now, so that will be pulling down my point. And I'm going to do a chain 2 again to come back up for the next one. And we'll do our pair 2 double crochets, chain 2 double crochets again into this hole in the chain in between our previous rounds. 2, chain, double crochet, 2, and now again I'm gonna chain 1, 2 into here, single crochet, chain 2. So as you can see, my points are starting to take form. This is actually another way. This is also a way you could make a flower kind of shape. If you made colors and you stopped on this round, it's a little bit more rounded. If you stopped on this round, you could do it as a flower. You could even do the points as petals the earlier round if you wanted to make a flower as an applique or something. But it's the same basic concept. The real points of the star we'll see in the next round. So I just did the chain 2 and come down to the middle. I'm going to do the double crochet. Peeking up at my phone, make sure you have my hand still in frame. 1, 2, 1, 1, 2. So you can see the ball of yarn likes to move around a little. That's okay. Just keep pulling it out of your way. 1, 2, single crochet. 1, 2, double, double. 1, 1, 2. And these are actually a pretty good way to also get the hang of different crochet stitches. Some things, if you were ever going to try to make garments or scarves or shawls, you have to be very particular to go into not the little holes that I've been creating, but underneath specific stitches. With the little star or the little flowers, you can, since you're making a big hole to use, it's a good way to not have to worry about where your stitch goes, but to just get to practice making, especially this double crochet motion, going around, going through, and coming up 1, 2, and then the chain, round, down, 1, 2, around, up, 1, 2. And I'm on my last center point, so 1, 2, single crochet, 1, 2, and then slip to join my round. And so now we are on the final round of my star. And this is going to be what I like to call the round of threes, because this time, instead of doing pairs, I'm going to do triplets of double crochets. And instead of only one chain in between each set, I'm going to do 3, and that'll help draw the points out a little bit pointier. So I'll start with my chain that counts as my first of 3 double crochets. Then I'll do another double crochet, around, down, up, 1, 2. So now that's 3 instead of 2 double crochets. I'm going to chain 1, 2, 3, and then 3 double crochets. Double 1, double 2, and double 3. It starts to get a little more crowded, which is good because then you want them to bunch together, and see that'll be a sharper point later. And now I'm going to do 1, 2, 3 chains. And now this round you have a choice. You could either do your single crochet into the actual, like under this little tiny V that's the previous stitch, or you could go all the way down into the hole from round 2. And that's what I'm going to do to make my difference between my points and my valley is more extreme. And then do the single crochet around the single crochet from your last round, from round number 3. So we do, and then we do chain 1, 2, 3. Let's do, it's going to be a total of 6 double crochets up here with the 3 chains in between. Echad, shtayim, shalosh, and chain, echad, shtayim, shalosh, and then her other 3 double crochets, arba, chamesh, shish. Chains, chad, shtayim, shalosh, single, echad, shtayim, shalosh, and find my middle point, there it is, echad, shtayim, shalosh, echad, shtayim, shalosh, and echad, shtayim, shalosh. All right, there's another point. Chains. Oop, I lost one. If you lost one, you just have to put your hook back into the loop and do it again. 1, 2, 3 chain. Valley. Single crochet valley. And chad, shtayim, shalosh. We're almost there. Echad. Shtayim and shalosh. Echad, shtayim, shalosh. We'll do a review on double crochets again. We're going to do around the hook, through the hole, bring up my working yarn, then through 2 and through 2. Around, down, 2, 2, around, down, 2, 2. Echad, shtayim, shalosh. Single, chad, shtayim, shalosh. Around, down, 2, 2. Oop, my tail's getting in my way. And then 1. There, 3 double crochets there, and it's nice. Crochet is pretty easy to see all the stitches that you've worked with. With knitting, sometimes you have to look a little closer, but crochet, it's easier. Look, there's 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. So I move to the next step. 1, 2, 3. Echad, shtayim, shalosh. 1, 2, 3. I'm almost there. We only have one more point to create for this star. I like to pull that a little bit tight. And 1, 2, 3. Our last set of double crochets. So around, down, 2, 2. Around, down, 2, 2. Around, down, 2, 2. 1, 2, 3. Last point chain. And אחד, שתיים, שלוש. All right, that's our point. Now our last set of 1, 2, 3 chain into our single crochet point. And then 1, 2, 3. We're going to slip it together. And I still like to do the slip stitch all the way up into the point where the little loop would be. If I were wanting to make the star bigger, I could keep going and start doing 4 double crochets, 4 chains of 4 and chains of 4 down here. I think 3 is usually enough for this size yarn. If you're using really thin crochet thread, you might want to keep going for 4 or 5 rounds total. This is 4 rounds total, but if you wanted to keep going for 4 or 5 point rounds, so after the first 2 rounds that just made that hexagon that we built from, you could. But I think this is enough in length. So now what I'm going to do to end it is I'm just going to take my scissors and cut a length of yarn. And then I'm going to pull that end length all the way through and up so that then it doesn't go anywhere. And you could use, if you're going to use it as an ornament of any sort, of as a decoration, you can use that tail, that long end, to hang it up. The only other thing we're going to do is I'm going to take the starting bit that we took, and I'm just going to take a regular old needle, maybe a bit, I'm going to use a bigger one, an embroidery sized needle, like that. And just so that I don't have the middle of my star unravel, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this needle and I'm going to put it under some of the stitches from my first round and just kind of go in the middle there. And take it underneath some. I'm going to actually just go all the way around underneath my other stitches, all the way around. And if I wanted to tighten my center, this is also a time that I can use that tail to do that. And I'm going to go under. And then once it's under a while that I know it's probably not going to unravel, I can go in and I can cut close, not all the way up against, and I can cut it close, and then I can just get rid of this tail. So as you can see, I said I use this one and this one. I used the same hook. I used a G4 or size G or 4 millimeters. They mean the same thing in crochet. And you can see that the royal blue yarn was a slightly smaller yarn than the kind of multicolored sort of teal yarn. So it comes out a little bit smaller, but it also spreads out to be, I'm going to put the white under it so you can see it can spread out to be a little bit lacier. For finishing, if you're using wool yarn, it's really simple to finish it off. All you have to do is get it a little bit wet with slightly warm water, soak it, and then put it on something that you don't mind putting pins into and pin out your 6 points all really strong. And then that way it'll dry really sharp. If you're using acrylic yarn or cotton yarn, I would use spray starch and then you can pin it out. I'm gonna flip the camera back around so you can see me. And so that was me making a couple of crocheted Stars of David. You can keep that long tail and hang them up for Yom HaAtzmaut. You could hang them up for Hanukkah. You can hang them up in your sukkah for Sukkot. Another thing you could do is actually take a different color now and go all the way around the edges. And you could even start filling in a little bit, and you can make a kippah. I'm sure a lot of us have seen kippot where this is actually the center point, which was actually one of the first things I ever learned to crochet when I was a little girl. So it's a fun way to have a little bit of fun with yarn, and for any of you who might be knitters or crocheters, to bring some of your Judaism to your yarn projects, to your fiber art. So this is one of my favorites. As you can probably tell, I'm a big fan of knitting and crocheting, but all kinds of art. So I thought I'd share one that might be, does take a little bit of starting point, does take a little bit of crochet skill that is not that hard to learn at all, and you can go from there. And so I thought I'd share one of my favorite creativities with you on this morning for Create with Rabbi Jenni. I look forward to seeing everybody this coming weekend at all of our Shabbat programming. We'll see you tomorrow evening for our candle lighting as a community. Shabbat morning we'll have Torah Talk with me and Shabbat Chants Encounters with Cantor Melissa. And of course on Shabbat evening or Saturday evening we'll have the community Havdalah, which will be led by Rabbi Dennis and Rabbi Sandy. And services tomorrow night will of course be Rabbi Dennis and Cantor Melissa together. Can't wait to join you for all of those, and we'll have a lovely Shabbat together, even virtually. And if you end up making any of these, go ahead and show me in the comments. I will snap a picture of my scratch ideas for a pattern if you are able to try to follow them. And otherwise, I will see you soon. Almost Shabbat Shalom. Bye-bye.